Greetings, sisters and brothers. Brother President Rolando, Executive Board members of the NALC and NALC sister and brother delegates, in the spirit of solidarity, I bring you greetings on behalf of the 200,000 APW members and a salute to you, all of you, as frontline fighters for justice. We wish you a productive convention that strengthens the fighting capacity of your union and postal workers and the working class in general in these most challenging times. And we deeply value the common bonds forged between our unions on many fronts, from legislative efforts to the successful Stop Staples fight, from the cause to protect six-day delivery to restoring service standards, from Executive Vice President Renfro joining us on opening day of negotiations a few weeks ago, to international solidarity in defense of our Brazilian postal workers and the rip-off of their pension plans, and efforts promoting postal banking and vote by mail. One great example, as you meet here today and this week, of the spirit of solidarity is the historic 1968 Memphis sanitation workers strike as we commemorate its 50th anniversary, when 1,300 courageous African-American men in the segregated South stood tall, took on City Hall, and won union recognition and the dignity and respect that came with it, behind the powerful and simple words, "I am a man." And you will be proud to know that your own Greensboro delegate, Richard Koretz, and my good friend and brother and mentor led a wonderful commemoration of the sanitation workers at the Greensboro Civil Rights Museum earlier this year. I don't know where Greensboro is, but they're out here somewhere. There you go. 50 years later, in West Virginia, teachers and school workers declared enough is enough. And reminiscent of the 1970 Great Postal Strike, with no legal right to strike or bargain collectively, and facing a politically hostile state government, engaged in an unlawful strike for better wages, improved working conditions and benefits, and improved education for the children. In the spirit of solidarity, all three education unions stood together statewide, provided lunches for students depending on it, and ensured the victory applied to all West Virginia state workers. And the courage was contagious, was it not? And spread to Kentucky and Oklahoma and Colorado and Arizona and North Carolina, where education workers suffering under years of corporate tax cuts that drained education funds stood up for quality education and made real and positive gains. And you just heard with our dynamic and good sister, Sarah Nelson, that recently unionized flight attendants displayed a terrific spirit of solidarity when they stood for basic humanity and decency and refused to staff flights carrying children separated by the U.S. government's Gestapo tactics of ripping children from their parents seeking asylum as refugees. And according to recent polls, 1 in 5 people have joined street protests since January 9, 2017, from women's to Black Lives Matter marches, for school safety to May Day rallies, as the needed culture of resistance is indeed spreading. So you are in convention, and we'll be in convention next month, during exciting and in many ways encouraging times. But make no mistake about it, sisters and brothers, as Wall Street is constantly on the march for ever greater profits, and the war on the workers continues unabated, these are deeply troubling and stormy times for workers and the 99%. But let's be honest, our problems did not start with Trump, nor will they end with his administration. Regardless of the party in power, poverty minimum wages have been in place for decades. Unjust wars for profit and regime change rage on, and international trade deals that enrich the multinational corporations at the expense of workers of all countries abound. But let me just interrupt my own speech. with the exception of TPP, that was another terrific example of the spirit of solidarity at work, where every AFL-CIO union and every union in this country opposed that rotten trade deal. We truly have a sick, profit-driven healthcare system, and union busting has weakened worker power. The public postal service has suffered with defunding, piecemeal privatization, and a tax on service over many decades. But many of our problems are intensifying under this administration. Social Security and Medicare are under renewed attack as recent tax reform shifted trillions of dollars away from these and other vital social programs to corporations already reaping record profits. The bloated military-industrial complex now takes 53 cents of every tax dollar, wreaking havoc at home and abroad. Stormy times, sisters and brothers. And let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if you earn $230,000 in 1 or 2 years of hard work punching the clock every day. Look around. Fred, is that a close vote? Ready for this? While Amazon workers toil earning less than living wages, the wealthiest U.S. individual is Amazon CEO Bezos. His wealth increases at a rate of $230,000. You think in a month? A week? How many think a day? How many think an hour? A minute? $230,000 a minute. The billionaire Wall Street class has rigged the system. Stormy times, brothers and sisters. The Supreme Court continues to choke voting and workers' rights, upholding the purge of voter registration rolls in Ohio and the recent Janus ruling aimed at defanging unions and the voice of workers. And a green light has been given from the highest office of the land and unleashed a divide and conquer torrent of race and religious hatred and immigrant bashing. The despicable events of Charlottesville, with white supremacists holding neo-Nazi torch parades and chanting, "Jews will not replace us," and the maiming and even murder of counter-protesters, while the White House referred to the fine people on both sides, is an indication of how dangerous is the rising fascist tide. Stormy and troubling times, brothers and sisters. And now we come to the White House budget, proposing, as we all know in this room, to cut federal and postal worker benefits by $143 billion, and executive orders virtually eliminating union time and just cause protections in the federal sector, and then establishing a task force on the Postal Service. All dangerous to us, federal workers, and the public good. And just 3 weeks ago, Office of Management and Budget dropped a bombshell proposing to totally privatize and sell off our national treasure, the public postal service. Troubling and stormy times that underscore those in power mean business and want their hands on the $70 billion of public postal revenue for their private profit. And they believe their time is now. And for us, it must be a call to arms and action. But beware, for it's not just the obvious billionaire-backed think tanks like the Koch brother-funded Heritage Foundation with undue influence in the White House doing the dirty work. Through the Brookings Institute, names you never heard of, like Robert Shapiro, a Democratic Party operative from the Clinton and Obama administrations, and 2016 Clinton superdelegate Elaine Carmack, advocate for privatizing mail processing and package delivery. So, sisters and brothers, we do indeed have our work cut out for us. We have faced privatization threats and thrusts in the past, but we have never in modern times faced outright plans to sell off the entire post office. Now, I already know there are those within our ranks, certainly of the APW, who believe these threats are much ado about nothing and will just blow over. An APW local president recently asked me, and kind of told me, we're going to be okay with the task force, aren't we? How many people in this room think that? How can the task force possibly do right by us when it is made up of OMB, OPM, and Treasury Department, the same forces advocating raising FERS contributions by 6%, changing high 3 to high 5 retirement calculations, and doing away with the Social Security supplement? Yes, we all the postal unions, did our best to press our case, jointly and separately with the task force. But brothers and sisters, it's rigged from the start. We also must guard against those who, in this moment of crisis, will try to pit crafts and unions against each other. No one group, craft, or union will come out unscathed if the Postal Service is privatized in whole or in part, and if universal service is done away with, as threatened by the OMB proposal. There is no protected last mile without the mailbox monopoly. There's no vibrant last mile without a vibrant first mile, as 30% of e-commerce packages are returned. There's no way to serve the people of this country if we lose the public mandate and public infrastructure that delivers to every address and has a post office in every town and community, helping to form the fabric of our country. I've been a strong advocate, it's no secret, for one postal union for many decades. But short of that, maximum joint work of all 4 postal unions around our common cause is more vital than ever in this moment of crisis. Unleashing the power of a grand alliance to save our public postal service that Brother Rolando just referred to. Now 86 national and many local organizations, including National Council of Churches, Willie Nelson's Farm Aid, the NAACP, all the postal unions, will be critical to ensure the privatization tide does not drown us out and drown out the public postal service. The weather is stormy. And I don't mean Stormy Daniels, brothers and sisters. The weather is stormy. But we have the good and sturdy ships called the NALC and the APW, built with many hands over many generations of struggle. We will have to row and work harder, educate our coworkers, neighbors, and family members like never before, challenge our elected officials at all levels, and take our issues to the streets and the people of this country. I am confident we can navigate the stormy seas to safe harbor, but only if we are united with each other, all 4 postal unions, organized labor, our community allies, and the people of this country that believe in and trust the United States Postal Service and all of you and us who do the work. Looking out at this convention, and you're big, I don't believe you will sit back and let Wall Street, UPS, FedEx, or Pitney Bowes enrich themselves at the expense of the public good, decent union jobs, and our unions. Am I right, sisters and brothers? As we forge ahead, let us gain courage and inspiration from the victorious Memphis sanitation workers, from our forefathers and mothers who stormed the heavens in the great postal strike, from the victorious Stop Staples fight, and from the teachers and school workers and their rebellions that have spread throughout the country. And I am confident we too can and will win if we keep our eye on the prize, mobilize a crusade to save the public postal service, and build workers' power, for as the words of the last verse of our labor anthem, Solidarity Forever, proclaim, in our hands is placed a power greater than the hoarded gold, greater than the might of armies, magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Sisters and brothers, see you in the trenches. Carry on in solidarity forever.